And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for, anticipating, with great anticipation. Yeah, I said anticipation twice because it's the main card. In the opposite corner, my mano y mano, my verbal sparring partner, back again like we never left. Wildress Ruff.
What's happening, boys? You already know what it is, man. It's the main card. It's your man Wildress here with the man, the myth, the legend. We got an STL hat on, but he ain't calling today. The voice. Voice, how you doing, boss?
I'm wonderful. I am a pecan in spirit because, you know, the Battle House is my spirit animal. And we are getting ready to compete for the XFL championship so that we can move on to the UFL championship, play both of those games here at home, and just go on take it home for the whole league. You know, Definitely. Too bad Philly don't have a squad.
Got to take it home for the whole league where there's 6 teams in there and Philly just won the Super Bowl.
8.
But that's all well and good. You know what I mean?
Who cares about a Super Bowl? It's not I don't even know what the name of it is. Championship of the UFL. Is The Rock gonna be there? I don't think so.
That tells you all that you need to know. The Rock ain't gonna be. The Rock don't seem to be anywhere a lot these days.
He's gonna be at the UFL championship.
That's another story, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great show to get into for you today. UFC 316. Of course, we got to get into that. It's a deep part. We're gonna get Voices analyzation on that. You know how he do. But of course, first we got to get into these KOs and low blows. Voice, let's get into it.
Let's do it. We already got it on the screen. Haney and Teofimo. Go on, kick it off.
I just the fight was there. It was in our grasp. And then suddenly in the 25th hour, somehow it was canceled. Some people are blaming it on money. Some people are blaming it on pride. Haney's blaming Teofimo. Teofimo's blaming Haney. Voice, what do we make of this and what is going to happen next? Where are we going from here?
Well, let's set the record straight. The blame falls solely on the shoulders of the takeover, which he could change his name to the Take Nothing, because that's just what he does. He takes back nothing. He learns nothing. Teofimo is clout chasing and using that as a means of gaining more popularity. Kind of trying to take a page out of Ryan Garcia's book, but in all the worst ways possible. You know, Ryan came off as at least somewhat believable as crazy. Teofimo comes off as fake and just dumb. You know, just some of the stuff he does is dumb. The whole racism thing, dumb. Then he gets checked by Terrence Crawford, backs off of it, just to double down on it again to try to make the fight with Haney. Haney's like, all right, bet, let's do it. Seemed to be working. And Teofimo gets to talking again. And you say that money may be the issue. With Turki, money's not an issue. He is wise and he will only pay for the things he wants to pay for. But if he wants it, he'll pay for it. And Teofimo got the contract. Seemingly everything was good. Trying to renegotiate and get more money. And you know what he gets more of? Nothing. The same way that he got more of nothing trying to chase the bag with Trilla back in the day, fighting Kambosos, fight nobody wanted to see. Then he makes Kambosos a star. Kambosos is going to be fighting again really soon, making another payday off of beating Teofimo. All of this is off of beating Teofimo. But anyway, he just does really, really silly things. He could have the fight with Haney. You see the picture that is on the overlay. You see how young both of these men are. They've been going at it for years. We've been saying, what is this fight going to look like? Now, especially after both of their performances, you would think Haney really doesn't have a chance unless he does something dramatically different, which we pray he does in this next fight. Unless he does something dramatically different, he doesn't stand a chance. And the way that Teofimo talking is just crazy. I'm sorry, it's crazy. You're going to fight Boots Ennis at 147, but you want Haney to fight at 140 when he just got done fighting at 143? And it was supposed to be at 147, but he said, okay, I'll do 143 again. Just, it doesn't make sense. And I've said often, saying of mine, when you argue with somebody who's crazy, it makes you crazy. And anybody talking to Teofimo, trying to make sense out of anything he's saying, is crazy. Yeah, I think you muted yourself, sir. You're saying a whole bunch of good stuff. But
I don't know what happened. Okay. I think it's all based off of who you ask and what you make of it. It's a lot of drama in there. It was a great fight that we were looking forward to. I'm hopeful that we're still able to get that fight. If you ask Teofimo, he's saying this on Devin Haney and the possibility of Haney getting a much larger purse. Haney saying Teofimo is scared. Oscar De La Hoya is being Oscar De La Hoya, so it's a lot there. And it almost sounds like they probably just need to get in a wrestling ring because it's highly dramatic at this point.
Well, I mean, there's definitely drama in the wrestling ring, but the place to settle it will be in a boxing ring where the action is not predetermined. Speaking of predetermined action, let's change up the music and head right on into our ring walk where there's a PLE taking place this weekend, Money in the Bank. And whenever there's a PLE, there's always different drama and storylines around it. One of the things, not necessarily drama, but a storyline, is that there have been a number of notable call-ups from NXT recently. Ricky Saints, I mean, it seemed like he just came back the other day. Like, I'm just getting used to calling this man Ricky Saints, and now he's already in the big show. Jordan Grace got the call up. Stephanie Vaquer got the call up, and she is going to be participating in the women's Money in the Bank match. Talk to us about their call ups and their impact on this PLE.
It's a little bit shocking when you consider how many of these have happened. Both Ricky Saints and Stephanie Vaquer were champions at the time in NXT. Shockingly, they both dropped their titles a little premature, as most people realized, because we didn't realize they were being called up. With Stephanie Vaquer dropping it to JC Jane, and probably one of the most shocking NXT episodes ever. You had to see the look on everyone's face when she dropped the title. But it's gearing up to be a great Money in the Bank women's contract match. We got previous champions, we got previous Money in the Bank champions, and you got some who are hungry, including Alexa Bliss, who's come back recently, Roxanne Perez, who's right now involved with the Judgment Day, so you got to keep your eyes on that one. There's also Rhea Ripley, a former champion, Julia, who was actually called up right before Stephanie Vaquer, and she's a former champion. Then you got Vaquer, and you got my favorite, Naomi. We need for Naomi to make this happen so we can get that women's triple threat between her, Jade, and Bianca Belair for the women's championship. It has to happen. Now, the one thing about Money in the Bank that we're finding out recently is Triple H is not a big fan of it. He hasn't been making some of the best headlines lately with some of the things that have been happening. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But it's a stacked pay-per-view. On top of that Money in the Bank ladder match, I mean, you have a couple others that we'll actually announce later on at the end of the show. But that match can potentially steal the show with those involved and with the storylines involved, because there's a storyline for everyone. Between Roxanne Perez and Rhea Ripley with the Judgment Day, you got Stephanie Vaquer and Julia in their beef. Naomi, who just doesn't like anybody, and she's having the greatest heel run ever. So definitely the women's Money in the Bank ladder match is going to be one to watch.
Okay, now you talked about Julia and Vaquer, as well as Jordan Gracie being called up from I told you,
from NXT.
From NXT. I want to say the other so bad, and but I caught myself. Anyway, all of them being called up from NXT kind of leaves NXT in a little bit of a lurch, especially seeing as Trick Williams, though an NXT staple, holds a title from TNA, which I was with all that tea going on, that's where it came from. But him having that title leaves again NXT in a bit of a lurch, but it doesn't also impact them. It's impacting TNA in a somewhat negative way. Like, the people across the aisle are not feeling the fact that the champion is in a whole nother organization, got a whole nother contract. Oh, and the champion is saying he feels like he can really spread his wings and fly, and is developing in TNA. Talk to us about the heat that Trick Williams is getting because of this title.
Well, I mean, right now, overall, NXT may be the best wrestling show on television. And while, the loss of Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace and Ricky Shanks is big, Mariah May just debuted on television a couple days ago, and you still have the best women's division out there. Now, Trick Williams is having an amazing run. Now, his reign as TNA champion has been nothing short of groundbreaking. Now, he shocked the world when he defeated Joe Hendry at NXT Battleground, and he became the first time an active WWE superstar has actually held the top title. Now, this is actually in conjunction with work that TNA and NXT have been doing over the past few months that's been highly successful. Now, his victory did spark a lot of intense backlash from some people, but not everybody. Now, he's declared that TNA has become Trick-NA, and he made his first appearance via satellite, saying that his high standards for accommodations and entourage requirements were not met. Now, he just recently defended against Mike Santana on NXT, but everybody in TNA doesn't hate him because he got that assist from First Class, which is AJ Francis and Casey Navarro, who are in NXT. If you don't remember, AJ Francis used to be top dollar in that NXT, and now he's actually set to defend the belt against none other than Elijah. Now, if Elijah sounds familiar, this is because Elijah is one of the greatest. Walk with Elias. He's doing this at Against All Odds, and the championship run is literally redefining what cross-promotional wrestling looks like. They're going to be doing a great job with each other, and I'm looking forward to seeing them continue to create that cohesiveness. I mean, we've gotten to see so many great matches and so many great crossovers that I'm really proud of the way the NXT is actually working, because it hasn't just been a one-sided thing.
All right. Well, just like NXT has not been one-sided, the main card is not one-sided. We cover three of the four corners of the ring. The only thing we're not covering is kickboxing. No. Well, I'm talking about like Muay Thai as far as
yeah.
But regardless, we're going to come back to you with some MMA on the other side, UFC 316. But before we do that, before we depart and go to the next segment, we want to give a salute to someone who recently departed, not dearly departed, but just left one ring for another in R-Truth.
Yeah, definitely. R-Truth is a groundbreaker, one of my favorite wrestlers, probably your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. He's a legend, an entertainer, literally probably the undisputed king of comedy in WWE, but his resume is amazing. From his days as K-Quick in the early 2000s to making history in TNA wrestling as in NWA as the first African-American NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Always kept us on our toes. This is a two-time U.S. champion, a two-time tag team champion in WWE. He's multi-time in a couple different organizations, and has a record-breaking 54-time reign as 24/7 champion. Whether you like the 24/7 championship or not, Truth is the person that you think of when you think of what it was. We can't forget his run-ins with John Cena, his iconic little Jimmy era, and some of the wildest moments that WWE has produced. We last saw him actually Saturday night's main event with John Cena. I'm hearing that because of the news that Truth wouldn't be continuing on with WWE, that John Cena called for this match because of their great relationship. So after 17 years, he actually, from what I'm hearing, he was actually lowballed on his next contract, and Truth decided to walk away, which at 53, it hurts, but he's an amazing wrestler. If you go online, you can't see anyone say a bad word about him, from Booker T to Kevin Owens to one of his closest tag team partners, The Miz. Truth, we want to thank you for everything you've done. I'm not sure if you're going to continue on, but thank you for being a light a lot of times where we didn't see it. Thank you, R-Truth, Ron Killings, K-Quick. Thank you for your time.
All right. On the next side, we will cover UFC 316. It's the main card. Keep it locked.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
And welcome back, man. Shout out to the brand Ozell. Make sure you're going out there getting those cleats and them fly sneakers for your kids or for yourself, man. Get you some Bruce Voice Royce and that royal blue and walk down the street and yell, call like he does for whatever reason he does it. But he got the Bruce Voice Royce glow. That's what we call it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, and it's like Mike Jack and Billie Jean when I step out in my Ozells, you know, the streets just light up.
Is that what it is? The streets lighting up?
Yeah.
I don't think the lights are bright enough. Anyway, voice. We got an amazing card, man. UFC 316, beginning with a battle between two men who couldn't be more different in how they approach the game. The always relentless Merab versus the ultra slick Sean O'Malley. Now they're running it back for the bantamweight title in the main event of UFC 316 at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. And boys, make no mistake, this fight ain't about belts. It ain't about reputation. It's about legacy and some unfinished business. Now, Merab, the reigning champion, made plenty of headlines in their first fight, boys. I know you actually talked about it a little. Not just for taking O'Malley's title, but the bizarre antics that came from it. Now, y'all remember it. The mid-fight conversation in O'Malley's corner, the kiss on the neck, the showmanship. But this time, he stated he's putting all that aside. He said, this time I'll be more focused on the finish and more focused on damage. The first fight, it was too easy, and I was too relaxed. I saw everything and controlled everything. I did kiss him, and I did make fun of him, but this time I'm going to be focused on more finishing, which is what I worked on. Now, this isn't just talk. Merab has actually made a career out of breaking opponents over 5 rounds, but finishing fights, it's not really something that he's done. It's only been one stoppage in 7 years, but this time he wants another decision. He wants more than another decision win. He said, I'm ready for a hard fight, and I'm expecting the best. Sean O'Malley is in the best shape. Like I said before, I'm looking for a finish. But if I have to beat the out of him for 5 rounds, I'm ready to do that. And then there's O'Malley. Out to prove that the first fight wasn't just a fluke and that Merab didn't get his best. He stated that he's back to basics. He's going back away from the flashy distractions. So this time, no signature color hair, no excessiveness. He said the first time I did my hair was June 6, 2020, almost 5 years ago to the day. I'm bringing back the OG hair. That stripped down mindset isn't just something about aesthetics for O'Malley. He stated that he's quit using marijuana. He's focused on his family and training. He said, I never felt like I was in a bad place or a sad place, but I've always felt like I could feel better. And whether it's my performance or not, I feel better. Now, boys, it's a lot going on. O'Malley stated that a torn labrum in his hip actually hindered him his last bout, and he's healthy. He said he's more motivated to beat Merab for sure. Now, it's a collision, boys, so I got to ask, does O'Malley finally solve the puzzle and reclaim the belt, or does Merab prove once again that pressure breaks even the brightest stars when they're in the ring with him?
The thing that's very interesting about this bout is you have two very important components when it comes to becoming a household name in sports. You have performance you have personality or star power. Performance, definitely the champion. Personality and star power has been historically Sean O'Malley until this bout. Now he's dialed things back, like you said. Said he's not using drugs. He even has stopped gaming and some other things that that people say helps you with fighting. You can read between the lines there. But he stopped all these things, has really focused, and now he's healthy. How does that change things? He said that, yes, he had some cardio from riding bikes and doing things, but it wasn't like the wrestling cardio where that's all he's been training. His approach being O'Malley, though, it's still, I'm going to catch you with the one shot. Now, famously, Deontay Wilder said you have to be perfect for 12 rounds. I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds. And that could very well be the case with O'Malley and Dvalishvili. But if you're waiting the whole time to be perfect versus utilizing your wrestling, utilizing your striking, utilizing your grappling, and all of these other weapons, you're really hindering yourself. And all the other weapons I talked about are all in the champ's bag. The one thing that is different this time is that the hunter is now the hunted. Not only is Sean coming for him versus Merab being after Sean his whole career and then finally getting him, but Merab also is the leader now. He's kind of got his own gym in his house. On top of that, he's got fellow Georgians that are there with him that he's leading. How does he react now that the spotlight is on him and he's got all of this other additional pressure that goes along with being a champion on his back? That's really the story of this fight. Do the changes that O'Malley made make up for his deficiencies? Can Merab withstand the pressure? We'll find out when the pin drops, the cage door locks, the thumbs go up, and they start the clock.
Definitely great analyzation voice. Now, it's going to be interesting because Rob has not lost a bout since April 21st, 2018. That was actually to Ricky Simone, and ironically, that was also New Jersey. And he's on a 12-fight win streak. 11 of those 12 fights have actually come by decision with one knockout. I believe that was Marlon Moraes.
Yeah,
Moraes. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Make sure you all tune in and follow the voice for more on that. But that's not just the only fight. Now, in one of the most intriguing matchups that we've seen in women's bantamweight division, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. It's going to be the reigning champ versus two-time Olympic gold medalist in a collision that's actually fueled by a lot of tension, history, and just competitive fire. Now, Pena comes into this fight, ironically, as the underdog, and she's not running from it. She says she's embracing it, and she's wearing it like a badge of honor. Delusional is what Kayla Harrison called her. Pena has actually made a career out of proving people wrong, and she's already ready to shock the world once again after she dethroned Amanda Nunes, the GOAT of women's MMA, and she said she's looking to do it again. But this one, boys, actually started a long time ago. It started before UFC 316. This has started back on UFC 307, before either one of them has been scheduled to face each other. Pena was already taking aim and questioning Harrison's PFL resume. She said she just got here. Harrison fired back and things escalated. Pena took it further, bringing up the steroid accusations and talked about the bad blood that was brewing. When Pena won the title, she called out a retired Nunes for a trilogy fight, but it was Harrison who was left stunned when she watched from the big screen. She said the champion hasn't shied away from letting people know exactly how she feels about her. I wasn't impressed. And when I talk about Harrison, I need people to know that I'm relentless about what I feel. Now, Harrison, for her part, insists it won't be an issue. She said, I think it's overblown as far as what Pena said about her. And this is also talking about her competing weight, which she previously fought at 155 and 170 at 155 in MMA and then 172 in judo. Now, they've always talked about how she hasn't been able to make the cut yet. She said, I've been very disciplined and I've had an excellent team around me. And we have body fat check-in systems and calorie check-ins and water. And like there's a sweet science to it. And I'm right on track. And I trust God and the process. She said, I don't believe in weight cutting. I don't believe that this is the best decision for me. But I do believe that the sacrifice is worth the reward. It's not ever something I want to do. There's no beating around the bush with it. It's not that fun and it's not enjoyable. But I have this internal drive and goal, and I want to see how high I can climb. Now, voice, it's a lot going on in this bout, from Harrison's weight cutting to Pena's back and forth of just not believing Harrison is as good as she's advertised. What are we expecting in this match? Are we going to see Harrison get to the greatness that she's talking about? Or is Juliana going to continue to solidify herself as possibly the next person that should be considered the GOAT in women's MMA?
I think the GOAT talk is a bridge too far. Did she beat the GOAT? Absolutely. But then the GOAT came back and erased all doubt about who the champion was. Speaking of the GOAT, she is in talks to come back to face the winner of this bout. And I think a lot of that has to do with who wins. Has Harrison faced some decent competition in the UFC? Yes, she has. She took out former champion who's now going back to a boxing Hall of Famer, now going back to boxing, Holly Holm, in one of her bouts, and then took out Ketlen Vieira, who was on track to fight for the title. So it's not like she hasn't beat anyone. Has she beaten a lot of people of lower skill sets? Yeah, she has. But you have to fight who's in front of you. And that's who's in front of her, especially at 155, which was a weight class that had not existed before then until Harrison created that weight class. The PFL latched on to it, hooked all their horses to her, or I should say hooked all their equipment to her and said, ride us off into the sunset. And she did until she left. It's going to be interesting because, or I should say, what really makes it interesting is the mindset of both fighters. Pena is the female antithesis of Rodney Dangerfield. It's like, I get no respect, and she comes into everything with a chip on her shoulder. She's always an underdog, but she's the one who wins. And she is nowhere near as difficult to look at as Rodney Dangerfield. So that's why I say about that, the antithesis. Anyway, this really bodes well for her because she feeds off of this. When she was in The Ultimate Fighter, she was fighting hard and fighting against everyone. When she got into the UFC, running off victories, she was an underdog. She was a person that nobody liked. And it's interesting. Harrison said that people are reaching out to her just saying beat her because they don't like Pena, but Pena's saying the same thing about Harrison, and they both could be true. Anyway, it seems as if Pena thrives in scenarios like this. What makes this even more fertile ground for her is that her team and her teammates specifically, they lost the title in the last pay-per-view, being Bilal Muhammad. So now I'm carrying the weight of the team. We had 2 champions, now we're down to 1. Can I keep this going? Where for Harrison, this is everything that she's been working for in MMA. Did she win multiple PFL championships? Absolutely, but it was already established that she was fighting against lesser competition, and unfortunately, the PFL wasn't able to bring in anyone new to really challenge her. They tried to do that with Cyborg. It did not work out. And then she wound up losing to Larissa Pacheco. I guess you fight somebody, 3 or 4 times, they can get you one, good time. So, that happened, but that doesn't help her lore and her mystique being Harrison in this fight against Pena. It makes what Pena says about the competition she's faced that much more important. Again, in the UFC, though, she has been just as dominant as she was before. That extra pound is usually the hardest one to cut, and someone who, as she stated, is not for weight cutting. Harrison, which is the reason why she fought at 155 before, having to get down to 135 is going to be interesting. As far as how things turn out, it's anybody's fight. It is anybody's fight. Harrison could muscle Pena to a victory. Pena could pull out the upset just like she did with the GOAT Amanda Nunes, and would mess up Amanda's whole life because Amanda really doesn't like her. She doesn't like Harrison either because Harrison wound up running her out of her gym. So there's so much going on. I can't call it. What I can say is that I can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a great match. Everyone keeps talking about how Kayla Harrison has done. I mean, she's outside of that loss that you mentioned to Larissa Pachenko, she's literally almost undefeated. Outside of that loss,
she is
outside of that loss. But much like you said, she hasn't faced the competition many are expecting. I think probably the most well-known name outside of Pachenko would be Holly Holm, which she actually defeated in her UFC debut. She's 2-0 in UFC. We're going to see exactly what happens and how that fares there. Like you said, Juliana Pena doesn't seem to be scared of anybody, and she goes after each and every person that she can, with her last win coming against Raquel Pennington. That's going to be UFC 316. But we have one more bantamweight smorgasbord for you. And this one is the Voices marquee matchup. I love this. The Voices marquee matchup, of course, is a fight that Voice picks that is a standout, literally undercover, but he has a reason as to why he's chosen it. Voice, tell us this week's matchup and why you chose it.
All right. Well, I've said throughout my time covering martial arts, whether it be boxing, MMA, whatever, I do my level best to be unbiased, but I'm a human being and I have my biases. One of those biases is a Bellator bias. I loved Bellator from its inception. I loved Bellator, and one of Bellator's best, the future of Bellator, once it was no more, has been let go by the PFL, and now is in the UFC with his boo, Tatiana Suarez, and he is looking to gain yet another championship in the UFC, that being none other than Patchy Mix. He'll be taking on Mario Bautista, who's someone that isn't getting a whole lot of love these days. He's been winning. He has won his last couple of fights. Can't say that they haven't been without controversy, but he's won his last couple of fights with people not really feeling Mario, especially seeing as, like I said, there was a bit of controversy in his win over Aldo. That's really what has everyone kind of soured on him. But the man is a beast. He's been doing his thing and winning. He's been winning. That's the name of the game. It's not necessarily how you win, it's that you win. And he has been doing just that. This is going to be a classic like striker versus grappler matchup. Bautista has only lost twice in his career, and over the last 5 fights, the man is undefeated. The last time that you can see a loss for him is in March of 2020 when he got knocked out by Trevin Jones. Now, will Patchy do that to him? Probably not, because Patchy is not really a knockout fighter, but he is coming to stop the fight. And one thing that he is very good at is stopping fights using his grappling. He is looking to come in and take out, again, the beleaguered Mario Bautista, and wants to choke him out like he did Sergio Pettis. In my face, he did this in Chicago at the last Bellator event, or what I call the last Bellator event at least, Bellator 301 in 2023. He can knock people out like he did Sergio's teammate, Rafian Stotts, in the previous Bellator card, Bellator 295 with a knee. I don't know that will take place again with Batista, but I know that Mario is bringing it. I know that Patchy is bringing it, and he's saying, look, I am here to win. Sean, I respect you. Marab, I respect you. And Marab is training in Vegas just like Mixes, and they most likely have trained together. I feel like Marab was at Extreme Couture for some time, but I know he's with Syndicate. Maybe he was there the whole time. Either way it goes, they have some history. Just like Batista and Sean O'Malley have history, both being from the Phoenix area. So it's another bantamweight bout. Same two cities are competing, and you have the same kind of stories going on too, because Patchy Mix is from New York, and Marab lived and trained in New York forever. So there's so many comparisons with the main event, but primarily it's what will, because Mario he's making his moves and stuff, but it's really all about Patchy Mix. And if Patchy shows up and does the things that Patchy Mix does, it's gonna get real interesting at 135.
It's definitely gonna be an interesting bout, considering the fact that Patchy Mix actually took the fight on late. I think he's a replacement for Marlon Vera.
Yeah,
he had just signed with UFC or May of this year, a couple weeks ago actually. So it's going to be interesting to see. In his last 7, he's knocked people out, whether it be by submission or by KO. In his last 5 or 7, when his last loss also was in 2020 to Juan Archuleta. That's going to be amazing. Make sure you watch that. And when you watch it, make sure you scream, "The Voices Marquee Matchup!" You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. But ladies and gentlemen, we have given you the steak and potatoes of this week's fight bouts. And now we give you our final fights. Ooh. Now these are the sides. This is your mac and cheese, your yams, your greens. These are the fights that we want you to also make sure that you take a look at in between these fights, and Voice has got them for you. Voice, go ahead and give them to us.
Man, the UFC 316 card as a whole, the main card, it's sneaky good. Like it's a pretty good card. We already talked about the top, well, not even the top 2 fights. We talked about the top 2 fights as well as the Mix and Batista matchup. But you got Kelvin Gastelum coming back in action against B. Joe Pyfer, as well as you have Vicente Luque taking on Kevin Holland. So that main card it's nice. It's nice. Like, you want to be in your seat when the pay-per-view starts, because each of these fights has the potential for fireworks. That's on the MMA side. We haven't even touched boxing this week because we had so many compelling storylines in MMA. You got Keyshawn Davis coming home again, fighting there in Norfolk, taking picture with Norfolk's finest, being your man AI, as well as Mike Vick. So he's ready to do his thing, ready to show out. Jairo Pataya is in action this weekend. Fabio Wardley is in action this weekend. And then on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, from the land of the rising sun, Junto Nakatani is going to be in action. So we got so much going on when it comes to boxing and MMA. But that's not all. We also have Money in the Bank taking place on Saturday night. Tell us what we should look out for in that, Will.
Man, what a card. Money in the Bank is always exciting because you never know what you're going to get. You have the women's Money in the Bank contract match, which we talked about. Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, Stephanie Vaquer. Then you have the men's side. That's Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. But that's not all. Lyra Valkyria will face Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship for the last time. If Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title as long as Valkyria is champion. But if Valkyria loses, she'll be forced to raise Lynch's hand and acknowledge Lynch as the better woman. Becky Lynch is so petty. That's why she's married to Seth Rollins. On top of that, The main event is going to be Cody Rhodes and WWE, actually world champion Jey Uso facing up against John Cena, the WWE champion, and Logan Paul. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be live from the Intuit Dome on Saturday. Make sure you're tuned into that. We'll definitely give you feedback if anything amazing happens, any cash-ins happen, because usually that's when they happen. But yeah, a lot of amazing things that are going to be happening this weekend. You have a full fight card. You kind of have a buffet of whatever you want to see when you want to see it. Make sure that you're following us on social media. Make sure you're following The Voice, especially for those UFC round by round breakdowns. And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you. This is what we do, MTMV Sports. We are the fans. We do the work for you all. We give you everything that we have from the greatest, from the latest and greatest. You got the full 94. You got Timeout. You got the main card. You got the V Report. You got Pretty Girls Love Sports. You have the HBCU with Miss Marva. You also have my man Will Smith with the KFC, with the Kansas City Chiefs, which, you know, I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but if you want the best, make sure you go ahead and you follow Will Smith to get the best for that. And you have Not the Same Podcast. Shout out to my guys over there. I know I'm probably forgetting to show y'all. Forgive me. I do this every week. But we want to thank you all for just tuning in with us every week, rocking with us. It's Smoke O'Clock, man. When them t-shirts come out, I'm going to be all up on it. Smoke O'Clock, you know what I'm saying? So y'all can get in it. Voice, take us out.
As we leave, I do want to mention some losses, or one loss recently in our arena, being former champion Mike the Body Snatcher. McCallum, one of the greatest nicknames in the world, and a phenomenal fighter, the first Jamaican-born champion in boxing. We salute him, we salute his memory, and we salute all those who love the Body Snatcher. Until next time, fight a good fight.
What's going on, family? It's your man Wildress.